Welcome to CVTV, and this is the very first episode of Sitting Down with Scotty. And my first guest is the amazing Roz.
Hi everyone.
Now
Hi,
we all know about the amazing Roz as 11 years worth of CV writing, but being something of a mathematician and knowing that you must have done a lot of stuff before you started writing CVs, and I bet you went to some pretty interesting places with that.
My worst job is telemarketing. God bless the telemarketers, really, because somebody has to do it. But I couldn't. I was too cheeky and rude on the phone. And of course, I was raising money for the Deaf Society in South Australia. And 1 out of 3 callers, I would say, "Hi, this is Roz from the Deaf Society." "Pardon?" And I would just want to hang up, because that's what Australians are like.
Okay, so aside from telemarketing, so how did you first break into the workforce? What was the first time that you were out there?
14 years old.
14 years old.
We had just moved to a new town. My mother had remarried after my father passed, and we were realizing that I was going to be somewhat of a journalist. I knew everybody's news, and I loved telling stories, and I had decided this is what I wanted to do. So my mother approached the local newspaper and asked them if they would please employ me, offer me a job as the school correspondent. I was in high school. And they said to her, "Oh, that would be great." And she said, "But you have to pay her." And I said, "Oh, can't afford to pay her." And I only found out a few years ago, after my mother died, every month she sent them a check to cover my salary so that they could pay me. And I thought that I was working, and what a great thing for a parent to do, because it made me believe that my work was valuable, even at the age of 14.
Yeah.
And it was. I wrote some. I tell you.
What sort of things were you covering as the school correspondent? Sports and social events?
Sports. I mean, we are not just talking sports. We are talking the rugby match between the 2 high schools in Vicksburg, Scotty. You know, this is not just any match. It was quite something.
Famous stuff.
And I did interviews with students about who was going to win, and all the sports. And then I covered things like the debates and interest. If one of the teachers was sick, I had a regular column in the paper each week from the school correspondent. It was great.
Excellent. Yeah. So, I guess when we're talking about your love of storytelling, your love of finding out about people, it's a natural fit that you eventually distill that curiosity and excitement about people into constructing resumes.
Exactly, because I, as a journalist, because I went on and actually became a journalist, you learn to get to the story, and you learn to get through all the nonsense to get to the crux of it. And that has been an absolute key to my success, is being able to whittle down and find the core of a person. And what people say to me is, "Wow, I would hire myself. I would interview that guy." And then I know I've done a good job, because it's actually really difficult for somebody to portray themselves on paper objectively, which is why I've been writing CVs for 11 years.
Yeah.
And this CVTV channel is just an extension of that, because over the last 11 years I have engaged with such interesting people, And I think there's a lot to be shared from those people, all their experience, all their fascinating stories. And so that's what I'm trying to do now, is tell the stories behind the CV.
Fantastic. And this is what I'm looking forward to doing, getting teasing out the stories, people who have had interesting jobs, interesting experiences, moved from one sector to another, and then another and another, with the single continuity that it's them and their career.
Exactly.
What you pick up in one place, you can go and apply in another place.
Yeah. The message is, you don't have to stay where you are.
But it really does help to have a large part of your driver as an employee or as a business owner or whatever, to be something that is a personal driver for you as well.
Yes.
That you're drawing on skills that you naturally have, curiosities that you naturally have.
I'm so looking forward to seeing what you come up with, Scotty. I can't wait.
Oh, we shall see.
You're a writer, a singer, a poet,
We're talking
radio
about you now.
announcer.
We're talking about you now.
I'm really, really looking forward to working with you.
Yeah, excellent.
Okay.
So over time, you must have had some fairly interesting people come through the door, as it were, people who wanted their CVs written. Tell us about some of the your more interesting clients.
Well, there is one that just stands out every time I think about this, and he is a pilot, and he was a helicopter pilot in Angola, and he flew Her Royal Highness the Princess of Wales around Angola on her final landmine tour, and he got to see her when she got into the chopper and kicked her shoes off and just went, and I think I worked on his CV a lot longer than I should have, because I kept asking him story time. And that was fabulous. Then I had a lady who was personal assistant of one of the richest families in South Africa. She organized events attended by Nelson Mandela, attended by royalty. I mean, just amazing stuff. And I don't often name drop on a CV, but I mean, when you are organizing Harry Oppenheimer's birthday party, then that name needs to be on the CV. But another one that was fascinating, this talk about starting something and going in a different direction. This woman studied zoology in Bloemfontein. I don't even know how I remember that. It was so long ago. She studied zoology, and she ended up working in the UAE for one of the Saudi princes in his private bird of prey zoo. Like, she lived in a palace, and she just tended to these birds all day. Just amazing. So, yes, everybody's special in their own way. I don't have any favourites, but I mean, flying Lady Diana around, that was pretty special.
Do you have any particular, aside from those sorts of stories, any success stories that your CV has got someone into?
I'm going to get emotional about this one.
Okay.
I hear it all the time, and I actually I can't get sick of it because it is so exciting. When I'm writing somebody's CV and I'm putting it all together, I just know that it's going to make such a difference because I've got rid of all the nonsense, all the what's my favorite animal nonsense. But when the client actually realizes that,
Yeah.
and they come back to me and they say, oh my goodness, I haven't had a response to 200 applications. 200 applications! And yet they keep going. That to me shows such tenacity and courage, and they just didn't have the right equipment. So once the CV is rewritten, and then they take that product and apply that same drive, oh my goodness, Roz, I was invited for 3 interviews and I've got 3 job offers. Help! Well, out of my expertise, I can't make the decision for you, but that's what happens. When I had first started very early on, I first started in my local town, the mining town. That story's all over Facebook, it's fine. And then I started getting more and more people from Facebook. And then one of my friends contacted me and he said, would I please write his sister's CV? She was really struggling and she had moved to Australia. I wrote her CV, she got an interview and she went on this group of South Africans, and suddenly my business became about South Africans.
Right.
It wasn't about Australian miners anymore. And a few weeks later, I got an email from a man, and he said it was a Sunday afternoon in South Africa, and he said, Roz, we've just finished our Sunday lunch and my family insisted that I sent you an email. I'm gonna start crying, Scotty. Oh. My family insisted that I sent you an email. He said, I've been out of work for so long and I got my first paycheck and we had a pork roast for lunch. He said, and we were sitting there talking about you, and my family wanted me to say thank you. And from that moment, I realized this is serious business.
Yeah.
This is actually putting food on people's tables.
Yeah.
And that is what drives me. Anytime I'm feeling like, oh, I'm so tired, I just think about that. Honestly, I think about that family eating that roast and just think,
yeah,
I can almost taste it.
yeah. That's really something.
Yeah.